Okay, back with homework 28. This time we are multiplying um, radicals. And so, unlike adding and subtracting radicals, it's kind of like fractions where you have to have a common denominator to add and subtract. When you add and subtract radicals, you have to have a common radical. And so that's common among fractions and radicals for adding and subtracting. Just like that's common for adding and subtracting, it is also common for multiplying, that with fractions you don't need a common denominator, and with radicals you don't need a common radical. So we can just basically straight up multiply square root of 15 times square root of 3, and we get square root of 45. Now that's done in terms of the multiplication, but it does ask us to simplify the radical once we get the answer. And so we can take the square root of 45 and simplify it a little bit. Square root of 45, we're looking for a number that, when we take the square root, is a factor of 45. So we're going to have 9 times 5, because we can take the square root of 9, and 9 times 5 makes 45. We will be taking the square root of 9. That's going to leave 3 on the outside here, and 5 on the inside. So that simplifies to be 3 times the square root of 5. All right, moving along. For me personally, these are a little bit easier because we can just multiply and do the job. What I'm going to choose to do first, because this would get like enormous if I multiplied 20 by 45. I could do that, but I want to end up with really huge numbers. And so I don't want that. So what I'm going to do instead is simplify each of these radicals and then multiply them so that I don't have a huge, gigantic number to deal with. So 2 times the square root of 20. Square root of 20 has 4 as a factor, so that's going to be 2 times the square root of 4 times 5. Square root of 4 is going to be 2. So that's going to be 2 times 2 with the square root of 5 inside. So 4 square root of 5. And then the square root of 45 is going to be just like it was earlier, square root of 9 times 5, which is going to give me square root of 9 is going to be 3. 3 square root of 5. So we are really multiplying this number is the same as 4 square root of 5 times 3 square root of 5. Now again, remember, unlike adding and subtracting, we don't need a common radical. We just multiply the number outside the radical, and we multiply the number inside the radical. So 4 times 3 makes 12, and 5 times 5 makes 25. Darn you, Alex. There we go. Okay. So square root of 25 is what? 5 times square root of 5 times square root of 5 makes square root of 25. Square root of 25 is 5. So we are going to get 12 times 5 when we take the square root of 25. 12 times 5 is going to make 60. So that's how we do number 2. I'll leave that there in case you need to pause, and then I'll move on. So number 3 is essentially exactly the same. What we're going to do first, just to make, well, maybe not, because there are no square roots of 5 and there are no square roots of 15. So let's just multiply those numbers and see what happens. So I can't simplify them first. 5 times 15 is 75. Z to the power of 3 times z to the power of 2 is z to the power of 5. I don't like z's because I like 2's, so I put that little slash in the middle to know that it's a z. Okay, square root of 75 doesn't exist, but the square root of 25 does. So we'll factor that into square root of 25 times 3. And then z to the 5th, we need it to be divisible by 2. So we're going to break that into z to the 4th times z. Here we can take the square root of that and the square root of that. The other things will stay inside. So square root of 25 is 5. Z to the 4th is z to the power of 2, because 4 divided by 2 is 2. What remains inside the square root symbol is 3z. Okay, so that's it for 1, 2, and 3. I'll leave these here for you. I hope this is helpful, and I'll be back with the next ones in just a moment.